welcome everybody. This is DeathGroundReviews. I'm Alan, and I've got with me Rami Ungar, the horror writer. Welcome, Rami.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
So, the one we watched recently is Be Afraid. So, this came out in 2017. It's kind of they call it a thriller sci fi kind of thing. Um, it was released June 1st, 2017. Director is Drew Gabreski, and screenplay was written by Gerald Knott. And some of the key actors in the movie, we got Brian Krause as Dr. John Chamber. We got Jared Abrahamson as Ben Chambers. We have Jamie Page. She plays Heather Chamber, the wife. And Lewis Hertham as Chief Collins. This is the synopsis of the film. John begins to experience sleep paralysis. And as he lies in bed paralyzed, entities that exist in the darkest shadows of the night visit him. John's horror intensifies when he learns that the beings plan to abduct his 7-year-old son. And Rami, critics bashed this movie, man. Okay, so one of them called it dull as dishwater. I mean, they just totally lambasted this thing.
I'm not surprised.
Okay, so you didn't like it at all.
My theory is that the title isn't a title, it's a plea to the audience. Be afraid, because we know we have a shit movie, but we want to actually get our investment back.
Ouch. That's rough, man.
It was awful. I mean, come on. There are like 20 different movies out there trying to make sleep paralysis scary, and the only one that succeeded, from what I've heard, is the one and that's a documentary on sleep paralysis. The rest are just as crap popcorn horror films.
So you're referring to The Nightmare, I see.
Yeah. I
Right.
saw another film that
And of the
was
Shadows.
yeah. I saw another horror film about sleep paralysis induced horror called Slumber. It had Maggie Q in it and Sylvester McCoy, and it was slightly better than this, but not by much. I just feel like they were trying to throw darts at a board and hoping that enough stuff came together that they could have a good scary movie. And it failed, obviously. Also, why is that 7-year old in a tricycle? I mean, if he's 7 years old, he should be old enough to have a regular bike. Maybe one with training wheels, but a tricycle? My God, his mother must be infantilizing him.
Here's the thing that I kind of had an issue with. I wanted more in the ending, man. I wanted a bigger confrontation. I felt a little cheated. I felt like there was no payoff in the ending at all. It felt just so
Oh my
mid.
God.
I had a
Yes, I
problem
mean,
with
he
that.
goes off into the tunnel, well, and what happens? Nothing. We don't
Yeah,
see
nothing.
anything. Just the kid comes running out and is like, "Oh, Daddy's gone!" And I'm just like, "Well, apparently he is, because we're not seeing anything." And
Oh
then
yeah,
they tack
yeah.
on that scene for like 5 minutes where he comes home and he realizes he's a ghost, and we're like, "Okay, then what
See,
the hell?"
that part I kind of liked. I thought that was interesting. But before that, the climax was just too weak. It was just too weak.
I did not like that because it felt so totally tacked on. Like they were trying to give their movie some deeper payoff. And it obviously, I mean, I did not want to know if he was like in hell or something, or if he was a ghost. I wanted to know what the hell the monsters were.
Yes, see, that's a big problem I had. What on earth world do they come from? I mean, we can still have some sense of mystery, but give us more of a glimpse of their world and what their purpose is. Some people think they're demons, some think they're aliens, some think they're interdimensional monsters. Take us further with that and explore it more, right?
I honestly, if they had made it so that the monsters were actually like the lures on the end of a giant anglerfish, and the tunnel is where the anglerfish was hiding, then that would have been way more satisfying a payoff than what we got. Even if it was badly CGI'd, it still would have been more than what we got. And honestly, sometimes honestly, sometimes you can get away with not explaining much. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Junji Ito, he doesn't always explain things in his stories, but that's fine because it works. It's still scary when you don't know what's causing this mist and haunting, or you don't really understand the curse that's causing a town to turn into a giant spiral. Oh, but it's here. What are we supposed to be left thinking? We're not even scared. You could at least give us a satisfying payoff to the mystery.
Oh yeah.
Also, the older son. Oh my god. I have no issue with a college age kid who's back at home just trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life. Honestly, he seemed pretty pointless. I mean, all he did was flirt with one girl and then get dared into a. I mean, were they high school students? Were all those people drinking around their high school students? And what if they were? Why was he taking their dare? Like, oh, I'm a big college student. I'm
Yeah,
gonna listen
that
to
was pretty
these
hokey,
drunk. I'm gonna listen to these drunk little jokers and just go down into a tunnel because they dared me to.
I thought though some of the performances were pretty good.
May I guess. I mean, I think some of the minor characters did a pretty good job. Like the dad who was looking for his daughter. I forget what his name is.
I
He
thought the
was,
wife did pretty good. The
I
Jamie,
guess. I mean,
I thought she did all right.
well, she did get across how scared she was for her son's safety.
All right.
At the same time, I kind of was not sure how she felt towards her stepson. I mean, she's like being so kind to him, but at the same time insisting to her husband when he's out of earshot that he has to be at school, not want him around. And I'm like, okay, which is it, lady?
Well, that seemed
Maybe that's
realistic.
more of a script writing issue, but
I think people do that all the time. I think she's trying to find a way to keep the peace so that there's not too much conflict that builds in the home, but she's trying to also express her true feelings. I mean, people will do that all the time in real life. I had no issue with that part. But
eh,
do you think, Rami, that if that there was an okay setup here with this film and that perhaps with some of the things adding more to the monsters in their world, helping us understand that better, do you think we could have gotten a pretty good film out of this thing?
I think the setup, the idea is good. I mean, the first 10 minutes or so, where it's the taking place 4 years before the present plot, I think that in itself was a really good short film. Just everything after just fails to live up to the expectation set in that first scene. And that to me is the biggest shame. And while I'm not against the idea of sleep paralysis horror, I mean, I've had sleep paralysis. I used to have it pretty often in college.
Right.
Uh, I just feel like a lot of horror movies are just attempting to make it into a monster popcorn flick of the week and doing horribly. I mean, between Slumber and this film, I've yet to be impressed.
So if you were to go for a using those concepts for your own horror story, how would you approach it?
Hmm, that is a question. I'm not entirely sure or off the top of my head. I may um perhaps I would try to add a psychological aspect to it, like maybe like in Nightmare on Elm Street, the people involved become afraid to go to sleep, and but the more they put it off, the worse it is. And maybe I just wouldn't try to give it a monster mythology, but just give it the idea that making you that sleeping and going through this is terrifying enough.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's something I'd have to think about. I can just tell you that some of these other uh, stories with this concept just don't scare me. They
Yeah.
don't. They're just terrible.
See, for me, I like there's a lot I would still need to think of too. I'd maybe go with the alien approach. Something about that sounds like it could be fun. Or
One of
interdimensional.
my One of my sleep paralysis nightmares was that there was an alien in my dorm room. I woke up and I saw this huge hulking figure with a bulbous head and glowing eyes. But then it was gone, and I was like, "Oh my god, was that an alien?"
See, my I had a sleep paralysis when I was 17 or so, and for me, it was the hooded figure.
Oh,
So let me tell you about it, Rami. I woke up probably 4 in the morning, couldn't move. I could just kind of moan and breathe. From downstairs, I hear this thudding footstep, thump, thump, and then I hear this deep breathing, just beleaguered and suffering. And this thing climbs up the stairs right into my doorway. And it's this huge figure with a hooded head, and there's kind of this wispy skeletal face inside the hood. That thing walks up to me, reaches down to me. I start moaning as much as I can, and then I snapped right out of it. Woke up.
yeah, your body's still in REM sleep when you're woken up, so you're still pretty deeply into uh your brain still got your body locked down so that you don't, like try
Move in your
flying.
sleep. Yeah.
And uh real the real world mixes with the dream world, and often in terrifying ways. That's sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
I've had I've seen old I once had an old man appear to me. He talking about his experiences in Vietnam. I've had demons try and sit on my chest, which is the typical the sleep paralysis, this nightmare, a demon or a hag.
Have
I've
you seen the hag before in one of your experiences?
not the hag per se, but I have seen demons. I once had interdimensional creatures come hopping out of a door or they created in my bedroom and come towards me, and they look like they look like human skeletons from the waist up, and their spines ended in like a needle sharp point. I actually have an idea for a story where those creatures show up.
Well, if anything, at least they're inspiring stories, right? That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's been years since had a real sleep paralysis, though.
Same here. But anyway, guys, yeah, that was Be Afraid that we just watched. And a lot of things we felt were disappointing, and we thought it was a pretty empty film, but possibly
Yeah,
could
you
be
won't
good
be
again.
afraid if you watch it.
Let us know your thoughts on it. If you have watched it, let us know if you are going to watch it. So this is Alan with Death Ground Reviews and Rami Unger, the horror writer. And we'll see you next time, guys.
And pleasant nightmares.